Daniel Ortiz in Angelo, Texas. We had 4 large financial unexpected emergencies, and I knew that I needed something to give us a little more breathing room. And when he mentioned we can skip 2 house payments and wipe out credit card debt and loan debt, so that's exactly what I did. I called them and it did change everything. Diane, she was awesome. She was professional. And the important thing with her is she listened. That's what made all the difference in the world. She was patient, and anytime that I needed to talk to her, she was there. She texted back. It was a different experience from any other place. Well, I can tell you the difference that it made was over $80,000 for us. It freed up that much. My credit score went up 126 points with Save with Conrad, which made it an 802. My name is Daniel Ortiz, and I freed up $80,000 with SaveWithConrad.com.
NMLS number 65084, equal housing lender. Woo!
Welcome to Something To Wrestle with Bruce Prichard. Well, you know,
That's not a rib.
She pooted.
What a rib?
No, yeah, I mean,
There's no box of gimmicks.
rumor and innuendo.
I don't deal in rumor and innuendo. And was he there? I was there. I don't give a shit. I ain't scared.
I ain't scared of shit.
Fuck him.
You, Bruce.
I love you.
give me double cheeseburger, double cheese, double mayo, double onion, motherfucker.
Bruce Prichard.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson, and you're listening to Something to Wrestle with Bruce Prichard. Bruce, what's going on, man? How are you?
God, I'm absolutely wonderful. How the hell are you?
Man, better than I deserve.
I know
Excited-
that's true.
Wow, that's hurtful.
Well, you said it. I'm just trying to agree. I'm agreeable, Bruce, today.
Okay, well, we'll go with it. Hey,
You gonna test that?
no, I'm not going to
You're a little
test it.
scared.
And first, I want to right off the top say, congratulations, Mr. Prichard. This is episode 400. How about it? Come on now.
that actually goes out to the people that have listened to us for 400 episodes, and that's where the applause truly belongs. Thank you very much for listening to us, to 2 guys that are friends that, for whatever reason, enjoy bullshitting and talking to one another. And we talk about this one subject and somebody records it, even though sometimes if you hit the SAP button, you may not get what you expect. Thank you for listening to 400 episodes of our show. God bless America. That's humbling. That's pretty
Dude,
cool.
Who would have thought 7 years ago? And it was a really, really important day in my life. We just passed our 7-year anniversary. And the first day that the very first ever Something to Wrestle dropped was also my first date with my wife, my now wife.
You're welcome.
So, yeah, my life changed a lot back in 2016. And you
Don't trust
guys
me.
are the reason we're here 400 episodes later. We greatly appreciate all of your patience. Of course, a lot has changed. Way back when, Bruce didn't think anybody wanted to hear what he had to say. And it turns out, not only did they want to hear what he had to say, he wasn't done contributing to the wrestling business, and we're all better for it. Today, we thought, you know what? Since this show is only around because of you guys, we should throw you the keys to the show.
The hell?
So we're not doing a regular topic today. We're going to do what Bruce calls ask me questions and shit. Other people might call it a Q&A, but let's jump into it, man. Jay Martin has a good question about our old close personal friend, Mike Tyson. Were there ever any plans to bring Mike Tyson back after his successful run in 1998?
I don't know that there were necessarily solid plans to bring Mike back. However, you know, the communication door was open to discuss with Mike, and Mike ever wanted to get into the ring and maybe do something more. We would have loved to have had Mike Tyson to do more than what he did at WrestleMania. And I think that door was always open for Mike.
I could have seen it like after the 2002 loss to Lennox Lewis, or after that fight in DC. I think maybe it was around 05. He just like quit on the stool between rounds. I realize that's not exactly when he's at his peak box office, but it felt like he could have been game for some spectacles.
You know, I mean, but it's Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
So I don't give a shit if Mike quits in a fight in between. You know what? He's always in the fight.
Yeah.
And it's like Mike Tyson is Mike Tyson. I used to have this conversation with Flair all the time when Rick would get depressed and everything and be questioning his worth, if you will, and get really down on himself and go, dude, you're Ric Flair. I mean, nobody can take that away. You're Ric Flair.
That's right.
So no matter what, you're still going to be Ric Flair. And I say the same thing about Mike Tyson, man. You know, and Mike has reinvented himself, and Mike continues to be one of the most popular celebrities out in the world today. And I just think the allure, just people wondering, man, what's Mike going to do? How's he going to do it? No matter what venture he's in, Mike has that kind of appeal. So yeah, shit, yeah, man. I think that any time that you could have put Tyson in, I think would have been a nice thing. And again, I just would have liked to have done it in more than just a referee capacity or a side capacity. I would love to have seen Mike in the ring. I think he could have done a fucking bang up job.
Did you guys ever get close to having a discussion about him wrestling a match like a Dennis Rodman or a Karl Malone, where he would have actually stepped between the ropes and quote unquote taken bumps and all that sort of thing?
We discussed it. You know, Shane McMahon had a good relationship with Mike at the time, and it was discussed, but I don't think it went any further than that. I know Mike at that time was looking to resurrect his boxing career. So I don't think that he really wanted to jeopardize that in any way, shape, or form. So it was discussed, but I don't know that it was ever really seriously discussed on Mike's part of training and actually getting in the ring to compete.
Do you think there was ever any sort of an idea? Like, I know sometimes, or I shouldn't say I know, I would imagine sometimes you might like the idea of saying, man, what if? And you could sort of fantasy book something in the hopes that maybe the talent would say, oh man, that sounds really fun. Was there ever a fantasy idea for Mike? Like, what if you tagged with so-and-so to wrestle so-and-so sort of thing?
No, I think that the fantasy, especially in that time frame, was Tyson and Steve Austin.
Yeah.
You know, that was the holy grail, if you will, of outside people that could have worked with Steve. Now, whether or not Steve really would have liked to have done that, I don't know. But to me, that would be the one where I would say, man, I'd like to make that happen.
And how cool would it have been if you somehow find a way to put The Rock in there and The Rock's cutting promos for Mike Tyson, and maybe there's somebody on Steve's
I let
side.
Mike Tyson cut Mike Tyson promos, man. Shit, he was entertaining. Yeah. Let him go. Fuck. It's entertaining.
Yeah, just have that dump button ready.
There you go.
In case he does it till you love him.
Yeah.
Hey, Brad Stanton has a great question about one of your favorite storylines. Obviously, the Kane story is one of your favorites. Did they ever have an alternate story? Like, I know that you take a lot of credit for that and a lot of pride for that story, but was there ever another origin story, or do you remember any crazy twists that were shot down? Like, we almost did this, or we considered doing that. Was there an alternate story you recall?
Well, you got to understand where the Kane story came from. It came from a place of looking for an opponent for the Undertaker. So
right.
It was, you know, who's next? It was Undertaker had seemingly already competed with everybody on the roster of consequence, and looking for something new to kind of give the Undertaker a new challenge. And Glenn Jacobs was our pick, and then the Kane story just became the Kane story, and we grew it from there. But you know, that kind of came from my fucked up mind. I know there were probably other people that at the time might have suggested Avatar, but other than that, not really.
Rob wants to know, when you're working with ex-wrestlers who are now producers or writers, meaning they're no longer an active performer, they're working behind the scenes, do you call them by their quote-unquote shoot name, Their old gimmick name.
Depends on who they are.
Like Michael Hayes, you still call Michael Hayes, right?
I call them names.
Yes.
I just like to look at him, point, and go, dude. So everybody out there, all right, if you ever run into Michael Hayes out in public in any way, shape, or form, just point at him and go, dude.
He loves it.
He loves it.
It's his
He
favorite
does.
thing.
He does. He really loves it. So it depends. It really depends on the talent. I go depending upon
What do you call Jamie Noble?
Jamie.
Okay.
Well, what else? What other name was there?
I don't know. I'm just asking, like, you know, what you call these cats? What'd you call Fit Finley?
Fit.
All right.
But it's like, okay, so like Terry Bollea and Hulk Hogan. It depends on who I'm talking to at the time.
Oh, I see. So if he's at home, he's Terry. If he's at work, he's Hulk.
Well, it depends on what we're talking about. It's like if it's his birthday, that's hey Terry, happy birthday. If it's a Hulkster, I got this for you. What do you think?
I got you.
It depends on who I'm talking to. Sometimes Taker, sometimes he's Take, sometimes he's Mark. Just depends on which one I'm talking to at the time.
Does anybody ever refer to you as Brother Love?
All the time.
Really?
Yeah.
Who calls you Brother Love in real life?
God, a lot of people.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, it's just a lot of people do.
And what is your what do you refer to Dave Silva as?
Dipshit.
Yeah, there you go. That's his working name.
Yeah.
Dylan Leahy wants
His name too, by the way.
It's his middle name, I think, legally.
If you look it up in the thesaurus, you look up Dipshit, other names for Dipshit, Dave Silva.
Oh.
And it works in the reverse too.
Oh,
Dave
okay.
Silva.
Like Otto, coming and going.
See.
Dylan
And then do it in
Leahy,
Spanish too. El Dipo Caca.
how many primes have you had today?
Uno.
Okay. Dylan Leahy
Well,
wants
why
to
does that matter?
every time I start a sentence,
Because I'm awake.
oh, so you have them every day?
Well,
Okay, you're addicted to prime. I get it. There are worse things, I suppose. Dylan wants to know who's one talent from any era that Bruce didn't get to work with that he wished he had the opportunity to.
Yeah. Okay. Probably, and I talked about this at the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, was a guy that influenced me in a way in my promos and just storytelling in general, was Thunderbolt Patterson. Because Thunderbolt used to cut promos that were so different than everybody else, because Thunderbolt would tell you a story. And as a heel, he would tell you the most logical story as to why he did what he did, but you hated him because of who he did it to. And there was logic in what he said, but he just took you on a ride and explained to you why he was right and they were wrong. And baby, it bees that way sometimes. It's his cadence and his ability to take any situation and turn it into having the audience love him or completely despise him. And goes from this popular, just mega star, top babyface, oh my God, he's my guy, to King T-Bolt teaming with Toru Tanaka, who was the most evil bad guy in the world. And T-Bolt went on to explain, he goes, you've got to understand, this is a business. And I am here to conduct business. And that man, speaking of Toru Tanaka, is the man I choose to do business with because I make more money with him. Nothing personal. I don't particularly like him, but he's best for my business right now. That type of, it's rational. You get it. Okay. Yeah, I see that. Doesn't really like him. Nobody does. Toru Tanaka beats up Wahoo McDaniel. That's a bad thing. but for T-Bolt to change sides. So, God, I would have loved to have been able to pick his brain at some point in his prime. That would have been pretty cool.
Bryant wants to know, what was your experience like in Waterloo? Of the legends who were there, who did you enjoy seeing the most?
Well, obviously, my good, dear, close personal friends, John Layfield and Jerry Briscoe the most. It was fun to talk to Rock Riddle and meet Rock Riddle. That was interesting. He was a lot of fun, but it was great to see Haku.
Oh yeah.
It's just, every time that I see him, it's like a homecoming, and you know how like when you shake hands with somebody and it's, hey, good to see you, it's just like that. Or you pull somebody in for a hug. When you get pulled in for a hug with Haku, man, it's genuine, and it's just, you feel loved. And it was just great to see him. Everybody there. There were so many. It was just really neat to be in that environment and be around guys, many of whom I watched when I was a kid growing up.
Yeah. Lucas wants to know, hello, Mr. Prichard. Hope all is well. How good of a wrestling manager would Mattress Mack be? And do you think you would have been better as a face or a heel?
I think Mack is going to be successful at whatever the hell he does. Mack is successful at losing bets.
Yes.
Mack makes more money losing bets sometimes than he does when he wins big. Go figure. But I think he would be really good at it, because I think that Mack is an ultimate salesman, and that's what a manager has to be. And love him or hate him, I think he would be polarizing, and there would be a segment of the audience that truly loves him for everything that he brings to the table. And there's also going to be that audience that really despises everything that comes out of his mouth. So to me, Mack is the epitome of showman and salesman.
Great question here from Jonathan Woolridge. Bruce, with your experience in Houston, Mid-South, and the WWF, would you have had interest in perhaps not going back to the WWF and instead taking over WCW once Jim Herd was gone instead of Bill Watts? I think you had everything needed, experience and knowledge-wise, to do the job. What say you? So that's a fun what if. Of course, we know you wound up going back to the WWF and doing your thing, but you have revealed here on the program there was at least a conversation about maybe coming into WCW, maybe managing the Barbarian. But if the timeline was a little different, would you have liked the opportunity to perhaps sit in the big seat over in WCW?
Hindsight being 2020, absolutely not. Because at the time, I'm 28 years old at that point in my life.
Right.
And I understood, after leaving WWE, I understood my limitations, and I understood where I failed and what I didn't know. You don't know all the time what you don't know.
That's right.
And once you learn some of those things, even today, I don't know what I don't know. And I don't think I was mature enough at that point in my career to have been able to go in and handle that situation. So I don't think I would have been good for them, and it certainly wouldn't have been good for me. Interesting, sure. But I just don't think that would have been what I would have been good at the time.
Do you think, I mean, I know you're saying that now at 60 years old, but do you think as a guy in his 20s back then, you would have thought, oh, I could do this? I mean, would you have had that bravado, or did you already recognize at the time, oh, I'm not ready for that?
Well, by the time leaving WWE, yeah, I was second guessing myself a lot. So I think that there would have been a big part of me that would have said, you know what, I'm not ready for this.
Wow.
So it was a big self-awareness point in my life. So yeah, I do think that I would have. Thank you. I think I can help you over here, but I don't want to do that part of the business. I did know, even then, what I didn't want to do anymore. So you take a look at kind of the trajectory of my career from a 4-year-old kid who wanted to be a wrestler and wanted to main event Madison Square Garden in New York, because that was New York, and that's all I knew was New York was. I thought for the longest time, I thought New York City was the capital of the United States of America.
Right.
As a kid, and then I had that geography class when I was 19, and no, just kidding, 16. But I knew that I wanted to be a wrestler. And then when I moved to Houston, man, my dream was I want to be the guy. I want to be the star in Houston. I want to be that baby face that is in the main event every single Friday night. Everybody comes out and pays to see me, and I'm the champion, and then I travel the world as the champion, and I come back to Houston and I take over as the promoter and the TV commentator, and I'm the man. That was my dream as a child. So I think that as you go on, I even forget what the hell the question was, but as you go on, your dreams change when you accomplish some of those things that you thought were going to be the end all be all, and realize there's just so much more.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm always at. It's you think you're coming back for one thing, you think you're gonna do just this, So like when I came back in 92, whatever it was, you're just gonna work on creative. You're never gonna go into the office. You're just gonna work with Vince and Pat. You're just gonna work with talent, and that's it. And within 2 years, you're doing talent relations, and then the business changes and it evolves. And if you don't change and evolve with it, then you die. And even today, I think there are new horizons and there are new challenges and things that, I never in a million years dreamed of. So I look at everything as a brand new experience and kind of another chapter in the book, if you will.
Yeah. I mean, that happened more recently as well, too. I mean, yeah.
With you.
Yeah.
It was like I gave up on the business.
Yeah.
I gave up on wrestling. I wanted nothing to do with it. And I'm like, man, I'm going to go learn mortgages.
Yeah.
I can sell. I can do this.
Yeah.
Wrestling was in the rearview mirror.
Yep.
And some asshole talked me into doing a podcast. And here I am 400 episodes later, and in a completely different place in my life with a whole new outlook. But it helped change my viewpoint of the world and just change the outlook on me from, instead of, I can't do that, I don't want to do that, to, yeah, let's go for it, man. Let's see where it leads. And
well, I think we should do that with your ball hair. Attention, fantasy football.
I know how to.
As draft season approaches, don't neglect the most important draft pick of all, your game balls. We all know how injuries can ruin a season, so let Manscaped take care of that Reggie Bush of yours with their skin-safe technology. This should guarantee you have a smooth ride into the playoffs. The leaders in below-the-waist grooming have created a championship lineup with their Performance Package 4.0, and it's time for you to do the same. Join the 9 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped and get ready for kickoff by going to manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping with the code STW. It's Manscaped, boys and girls. And inside this Performance Package 4.0, you'll find the Lawnmower 4.0. And boy, does my wife love this thing. They've also got the Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, and I have it on good authority that Mrs. Prichard likes that. Every wife loves the Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant. As we get a little older, maybe we need the Crop Reviver Toner. How about those Performance Boxer Briefs? And it all comes in a travel bag. That's all included here. Slide it at quarterback, that now famous, or maybe infamous, Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer. This spaceship is here to guide you on a journey to trim your balls, your body, and even your A-gap. Yeah, that means what you think it means. The 4th generation trimmer also has this cutting edge ceramic blade to reduce those grooming accidents. It's all thanks to their advanced skin safe technology. You see, this bad daddy here has a 7,000 RPM motor and a new multi-switch or multi-function on-off switch. So it's got like a travel lock, so you don't have to worry about it going dead in your bag. It's also waterproof too. So if you want to shave your bag in the shower, in the sink, in the hot tub, you're all set. The Lawnmower 4.0 also has a 4000K LED spotlight, brighter than Bryce Young's future in the end zone. Did we mention the Weed Whacker? It's the ultimate flex. Watch it run through ear and nose hairs like Aaron Donald runs through your favorite quarterback. The Weed Whacker, we mentioned, also waterproof, 9,000 RPM motor. How about a 360-degree rotary dual blade system? And once again, proprietary skin-safe technology. Going to reduce the nicks and snags and tugs. But I'm telling you, the game changer perhaps is the Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant and the Crop Reviver to help your bench warmers on their A game. You're feeling that sun's heat. They even got you those 2 free gifts we mentioned, the boxers and the travel bag. Who's the commissioner now? Come on. Get 20% off with free shipping with the code STW at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping with the code STW at manscaped.com. It's time to put the PP back in PPR and get a grip on your pigskin this season with Manscaped. Bruce, this is a question that I have to admit, I don't even remember. But on this day, and WWE does, he says Raw taped back-to-back in a sweltering and tiny rec center in New York. It featured the Macho Midget, I can't believe that was a thing, and the Bushwhackers taking on a Beverly Brother, the Brooklyn Brawler, and Little Louie on their flagship show. And we were doing this after you had taken a big pay cut. Vince was under some legal troubles that would become the steroid trial. Is this perhaps your lowest moment in the WWF?
Oh, God, no.
Way worse than that, pal.
Yeah, I've been through way worse than that. Again, when you look back, and you have 20/20 vision, I've been through a lot worse than that. Again, you as you get older, folks, you tend to have a completely different viewpoint of your past life and what things may seem very difficult in the moment and like earth shattering and life changing. And oh my God, it can't get worse than this. Trust me, it can. And you have to take each and every one of those as a teaching and learning moment. And as Randy Savage used to say to me, and I say this to guys all the time, the higher the highs, the lower the lows. And never have truer words been spoken. Dig it.
David C. Anderson wants to know, I've been watching 1989 primetime wrestling in chronological order, and I noticed when promoting the main event in February 89, as well as the Saturday night's main events that year, NBC is never mentioned by name on primetime wrestling or the syndicated shows. It was always mentioned as a national network television. What was the reason why NBC was not specifically mentioned? Is that because it was airing on another channel and it was a conflict, Bruce?
Yeah, absolutely. You're on USA Network and then you're going to be promoting to another network. You wanted to let people know from the cable cast, which USA was, that, hey, folks, this is on broadcast. This is network television that everybody gets for free over the air. You don't have to pay for cable to get this. This is available for everybody. So I think people understood that, but no, we couldn't talk about NBC and name them by name on our cable programming. Now you certainly could because they're owned by NBC Universal, but at the time they were not. So yeah, you didn't get to plug that directly.
Great question here from Ben Jones. He wants to know, do you have any good stories about referee Mike Kiota?
Good stories? No.
Oh, just bad stories?
No, I'll tell you, I have a great one about Kiota. And I'm trying to picture where the hell we were. I mean, I can picture it perfectly. I just don't know what the building was. But one day we are working, and all of a sudden, backstage, our power goes out. And I was like, what the hell is that? It's like, well, did we flip a breaker? Did we blow something or what have you? Because all this shit's on it. You know, what we were getting our power from, and what was the power source was our own generator. So it wasn't like, and it was a generator that was plugged into the unit, but it was a generator then that you could plug everything else into. It's not going to overload, and you don't have all these different power sources. And we're like, everybody's going nuts. Like, what the hell? What the hell? We go back to look at the generator, and we see that it has been unplugged. And in place of the plug is a phone charger with a phone attached to it. So someone had unplugged
My God.
the power supply backstage to plug in their phone to charge it.
My God.
So I took the phone. I took the charger, plugged our power back in, and looked at the phone and saw whose phone it was. And it was one Mike Kiota, who definitely should have known better. So I let everyone know, don't say a word. But when Kiota comes back in looking for his charger and his phone, let him know that I have it, and he needs to come and find me. So while holding on to the phone, somebody might have suggested, hey, you want to really teach him a lesson? Change the language on his phone.
Oh, goodness gracious.
So we went through, and I think we might have accidentally deleted all of his contacts. I don't remember if we actually did that. That was suggested. But his phone might have got changed over to French or German or something like that.
Something he didn't speak, clearly.
So when Mike went in to get his phone, he was like, what the fuck? And I go, hey, man, you might want to go talk to Bruce. Why do I got to talk to Bruce? He has your phone. Dude. And then they're explaining to him what happened. So now he's shitting bricks. And he's already gotten back to me. Man, he's shitting bricks. He's terrified to come and talk to you. Well, so if he wants his phone, he's going to have to come find me.
Oh.
And I'm not going to go look for him because he fucked up my backstage shit. It's, he can come find me. So he comes and finds me, and I give him this thing. So, Mike, do you realize what you did? I mean, seriously, the fucking arrogance. I mean, what makes you think that you can just unplug the backstage power so you can conveniently put your phone on charge near your bag? Go charge it somewhere else. Go find an outlet that isn't being used and use that. There are plenty of them around. I'm sorry, I didn't know. I said, but seriously, how fucking stupid is that?
Wow.
I know. Oh, God. Dude, he unplugged the entire fucking backstage power source.
He didn't know.
Okay, if you see a giant plug or you see a plug and it's got a giant plug in it in the outlet, you don't just go and unplug shit when you don't know what it is.
You don't?
No, you don't.
Sometimes you do.
That's a pro tip. Do not do that, folks. Okay, that's a stupid thing to do.
Lessons were learned today.
And that's what I do. So I gave him his phone back. And I'm sorry, blah, blah, blah. Thank you. So he goes away. And I don't know how long it took, but it wasn't long. He came back and goes, what happened to my phone? It's like in some foreign language. I don't know, dude. Because I didn't do it because I have no idea how to do that. So someone else had done that part. And I'm like, I don't know.
And you know who did it.
Oh, yeah, I knew who did it.
Yeah.
But he didn't ask me who did it. He thought I did
Right.
it. And I was not lying to him when I told him I did not do that. And I have absolutely no clue how to undo it. But maybe a good idea never to unplug shit and plug your shit in. I said, why don't you go? I said, and I might have suggested he go to his contact list and call somebody that might know. And then he realized his contacts were gone. So, dude, I mean, come on. There's lessons to be learned here sometimes. Sometimes they're harsh. But, you know, shit happens.
If you had done that to Jim Cornette, what would that have sounded like?
Motherfucker, I'm gonna kill somebody. Oh, he'd been swinging his fucking tennis racket. You kidding me?
Yeah.
Yeah. He would have, first thing he would have done is put his phone down and beat the shit out of his phone with a tennis racket. And then go swinging at everybody else.
Eric wants to know, will we ever
But I also have confidence that Corny wouldn't have been stupid enough to unplug the main power source backstage and plug his shit in. I would hope.
Kiota didn't do it intentionally.
The level of stupidity associated with that.
Oh, come on now.
No, come on. What? Come on now.
Just saying.
You think that's okay?
No, it was an
I'm
accident.
going to come to your house. I'm going to disconnect your whole home generator. And then I'm going to blow some fuses. And see how you like it. And I'm going to plug my phone in its place.
But if I changed your
I'm going
contacts,
to go in and get in your. I don't even know how to do that shit. So
no, you don't. Do you know how to tell us the story of how Brock Lesnar almost killed you, breaking your face? Eric wants to know.
Yeah. So we were in Halifax, and there was a scene with the FBI, the full-blooded Italians, and they had taken a tow truck and blocked the door that they had tricked Brock to go into, and so on and so forth. And the person that built the door and built the room for Brock to go into left very much to be desired. And when the tow truck hit the door, it kind of caved it in a little bit. So when everything's all said and done, it's like the walls in the room is starting to cave in on Brock, who's inside. And the incompetent person in charge of this got on the tow truck and started to back it up. When the only thing holding the walls up was the fact that this tow truck was in it and holding the walls up. You know what I mean? The pressure of the tow truck was now, it had broken everything, but it was at least holding the walls up. When he starts to back it up, now there's no support for the walls and they start falling in even more. So, like screaming, stop! This, it's all going to cave in on him. So Brock, man, he's kind of trapped, and he just started breaking his way out. And when he did, the big piece of sheetrock came and smashed me in the face, and basically broke my face, broke my nose in 3 different places, shattered my orbital. This sinus caved in, my left side sinus caved in, and yeah, basically broke my face. But it wasn't, it wasn't intentional. He had no idea. And I had no idea how badly I was hurt. It's one of those, you get popped in the nose and your eyes start to water. So my eyes are watering, and I don't realize that it's not just water, it's a lot of blood. And Big Show was right there, and Big Show had me by my shoulders and was like, "Bruce, you need to sit down." I go, "No, fuck, I got to look at this." And I'm worried about Brock, because I'm like, "Dude, are you all right?" Jesus Christ, I'm worried about him because the damn thing's caving in on him, right? And I'm going to try and watch him. Big Show just manhandles me and basically sits me down. And I'm looking up at him, and I realize like I could only see out of my right eye, and the other one's kind of fuzzy and all this shit. And he goes, dude, they're like calling for the doctor and everything to come over. And I'm like, what are you doing? And I look down, I'm wearing a light blue denim shirt, and the whole left side of it is just covered in blood. And about this time, Taker was there, and Taker came over, and now Brock's over there, and Brock's like, oh my God, what happened? I'm like, dude, I'm fine. Because you're not fine. And so then they get me, and they took me in a room, and now I get to look at it and see it the first time in the mirror. It was gruesome. It was great. But that's what happened. I mean, total accident. And Brock Lesnar, the human being, being who he is, felt horrible about it. And by the time that I got home, had like 2 gigantic boxes of just lobsters and crabs from this place that we like to go in Seattle at Pike Place Fish. And that was waiting for me with a nice note from him. And I was like, again, it was an accident. It was a freak accident. Now, stupidity on the guy who set up the room, but, on Brock's part, just he was getting the hell out of there, and shit happens.
What did the note say? Sorry for breaking your face. Enjoy this lobster.
Here's looking at you, kid.
Oh, I love that.
With the eye all messed up and everything. Yeah.
I love that.
So,
Brett Bogansky wants to know, how much truth is there to what Marty Jannetty said during the Dark Side of the Ring about Vince giving him another big push and $1 million deal in 2006 when they brought him back after the 3rd time, and then he got arrested again?
That would be false.
Yeah, I kind of thought maybe.
Nothing about that statement's true.
Did you see the whole episode?
I can't watch those things.
I get it.
I think that they just dwell on negativity and lies and bullshit and hearsay, and they exploit that. And it's so much of it is based on, the rumor and innuendo, and just complete 100% bullshit. And the producers do not do their homework to the extent that satisfies them. When you dispute their homework and give them facts that don't support their story and their narrative, they choose to ignore it. And that is why I have not done anything since the first ones that I did for the first season. And I will never do anything with them again, because I do not like the way that they present stories, because they're only looking for negativity to exploit. And in my old age, I learned there's a lot more than negativity, man. Why not exploit some positive messages and some good shit?
Well, because it's called Dark Side of the Ring, not Happy Side of the Ring.
Well, okay, but it's the same. You know what else it should be called?
What?
The Lies of the Ring. Because a lot of what they present as fact are 100% bullshit, unsubstantiated lies. And when given facts, they choose to ignore them. That's just fact.
Did you see the part of the Marty doc where he talked about the rumor and innuendo that he killed a guy behind a bowling alley? Had you heard that in the 90s? Because they closed with a conversation from Al Snow where he said, no, he had heard that when they were teaming together in the 90s. Marty had told him that. Of course, Marty says, no, it was all just a storyline, and perhaps it was a storyline back then too. But the episode starts with Marty's closest friend saying, Marty lies all the time. You just pointed out that this whole $1 million contract, not true. I mean, and that didn't even make logical sense that Marty would be getting $1 million offer in 05 or 06. But
right.
Had you ever heard this whole bowling alley story before it blew up on social a few years ago?
No, and that was the first time I'd ever heard it. Was maybe a year or two ago.
Right.
which sounded like a fever dream
Yeah.
more than anything. But I had never heard that in the 90s. I had never heard it until it blew up on social, and it was something about the police did an investigation
Yeah. And they found
into
nothing.
it or something.
Yeah. They found nothing.
And I'm thinking, like, really? I mean, you're investigating this? Have you investigated, the people that are telling you this story?
Right.
Maybe go there. So no, I never, ever, ever, ever heard anything about that. And even when it did pop up, people laughed at it and go, "Oh
Right.
my God, it's just that's Marty being Marty."
Well, I think Dusty once famously said, never let the truth get in the way of a good story.
But is that even a good story?
No, it's not a good story, but
Yeah, I mean,
I think Marty maybe has a few habits, and maybe it's time for you to start kicking some habits. And listen, here's the reality. Cold turkey can be great on sandwiches, but there is a better way to break your bad habits. We're not talking about some weird mind voodoo from your crazy neighbor or some stories from Marty Jannetty. We're talking about our sponsor, Fume. And they look at the problem in a different way. Not everything in a bad habit is wrong. So instead of a drastic, uncomfortable change, why not just remove the bad from your habit? Well, Fume is an innovative, award-nominated device that does just that. Instead of electronics, Fume is completely natural. Instead of vapor, Fume uses flavored air. And instead of harmful chemicals, Fume uses natural, delicious flavors. You get it. Instead of bad, Fume is good. It's a habit you're free to enjoy. And it makes replacing your bad habit easy. Your Fume comes with adjustable airflow dials, and it's designed with movable parts and magnets for fidgeting, giving your fingers a lot to do, which is helpful for de-stressing or anxiety while you're trying to break that habit. And I have to admit, my wife was a little skeptical of this at first, but buddy, she loved the flavor. Way more flavor than she expected. She really enjoyed the crisp mint. But they've got tons of other flavors too, like white cranberry. They got maple pepper. How about sparkling grapefruit, orange, vanilla, raspberry, lemon? So many different flavors for you to choose from. You'll also notice that it feels great. It's well weighted. It's perfectly balanced. It is fun to fidget with. It's also made of beautiful real wood. And it's a shape that, you just feel cool using it. Here's the reality. Stopping is something we all put off because it's hard. But switching to Fume, man, it's easy, enjoyable, and even fun. Fume has served over 100,000 customers and has thousands of success stories, and there's no reason that can't be you. Join Fume in accelerating humanity's breakup from destructive habits by picking up the Journey Pack today. Head to tryfume.com and use the code WRESTLE to save 10% when you get the Journey Pack today. That's TryFUM and use the code WRESTLE. Save an additional 10% off your order today. One more time, tryfume.com/wrestle and use the code WRESTLE to save an additional 10% off your order today. Great question from our great close personal friend, Lenny Bakken, who, by the way, if you're looking to invest some money, he is a personal friend of ours who will do you right at Edward Jones. Just throw it in a Google machine, Bakken. That's how you spell Lenny's last name, Lenny Bakken. Anyway, he wants to know, does Bruce have any memories or stories about Adrian Adonis when they were together for a brief time in 1987?
I was literally there for one TV that Adrian was at. That was in Worcester, Mass. Said hello to him, and that was the extent of it. Never, I think Adrian was gone the next week. So I had, other than saying hello to him walking into catering, the only interaction I had with Adrian when I came in.
I know you kept up with him in the magazines, and he really had sort of two parts of his career. Like there was this New York badass, then this over the top flamboyant character. Did you have a preference for which you preferred as a fan?
So, man, I liked the team with Jesse.
Yeah.
When they were the East-West Connection. I liked the team with Murdoch. But I always kind of viewed Adrian, man, when you look at him, he would take his jacket off and that body, it was just so unique. But then he would start to move. And for a big man, I think that Adrian was one of the best big men ever to grace the ring. Could do absolutely anything. So I was just a fan of his. I thought that the adorable Adrian that he did at the end was entertaining as hell. It just was, it was so over the top from where his character had been that you couldn't help but enjoy it. I found it such a 180, was it 180 or no, 360 circle. Yeah, so it was 180 of everything he had done up until that point, and he was entertaining as hell. He did that great. So, you know, I was around, not even around Adrian. When I first met Adrian was when he was working with San Antonio Southwest Championship Wrestling in San Antonio, and Keith Frank was this just like the nicest, everything that you would expect looking at his character, this mean, nasty, was not who he was. He was just this really nice, gentle guy that was fun to be around. And I was only around him a few times, but he was fun to be around and always just the nicest guy. So I wish that I had the opportunity to work with him more, though.
Josh Henney wants to know, I just finished watching Raw from October 19th, 1998, when Stone Cold held Vince hostage after Judgment Day. Who came up with the creative to have Austin show up in hunting gear and use the Bang 316 gun? And was there any fallout from that episode? That's a great question. I don't remember us talking about that before. Was the network concerned? Were sponsors concerned? I mean, it's rare we saw a quote unquote gun on TV. We did see one once before with Austin. I know way back when we saw one with Dr. D, but the Bang 316 was a little silly. Was there any fallout for that? Do you remember having to cross your T's and dot your I's before you did it?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that was during the Russo era, so I'm not really sure whose idea that was. It's probably Steve's or Vince's, but because of the way it was done, I think the most fallout we had was Vince pissing his pants.
Really? People were upset about that.
People are funny about bodily fluids from below the waist on television.
Okay.
That's a real S&P deal, man.
All righty.
Yeah.
Charlie Thrower wants to know, during the Attitude Era, if King wasn't around and the company had to go with someone else to be paired with JR, who do you think would have been the best fit behind the desk on Monday night?
You know, I would have gone, frankly, with Michael Hayes.
Wow.
Because I thought Michael Hayes and Jim Ross had great chemistry together. And, you know, to this day, I think that Michael was a tremendous color commentator and added a lot and gave a unique perspective, was able to have a heel tint to it, but was great at telling stories. And JR and Michael had terrific chemistry. And then from there, I'd probably go with Paul Heyman.
Man, either one of those would have been great. I can't believe this is real.
Believe it.
Little Nate wants to know, did you really hate the Netflix Wham documentary as much as you say?
Oh my God. Thank you for asking that question. So Charles Robinson loves George Michael.
Yes.
And Wham. He sends out Christmas cards with his adoration for George Michael.
It's not only his background on his phone, it's on his phone case. He loves him some George Michael.
He loves him some George Michael.
Yes.
I was never a fan, not my type of music. But also I guess they were in the mid 80s and I was, you know, album oriented rock, man, all the way during those years. And I just don't remember any of their songs, but I love documentaries and I love to watch documentaries about something I don't know a whole lot about. so I can learn something, especially if there's something interesting. And I knew of Charles' fascination with George Michael and Wham. So I see this documentary and I download it and I'm watching it. And I got about 20 minutes in when it's like, I just found it boring. I just wasn't interested. And maybe, I don't know if it's the music. I don't know if it's the personalities involved. I didn't think it was a good story. Like, the Queen movie. But again, I'm a Queen fan. So I enjoyed that. Even though that wasn't even a documentary, but even the documentaries on Queen I enjoyed. But this it wasn't interesting to me. And I told him, and he said, "Oh God, no, you got to get into it. You got to watch the whole thing." So I did. I committed to it, and I watched the whole thing. And my wife was like, "Oh, hey, yeah, cool, man. Let's watch this Wham documentary." And so we sat down, and it took her same thing, about 20, 30 minutes before she was playing solitaire on her phone.
I tapped too, same amount of time.
And I watched the whole thing because I promised Charles I would.
And it was terrible.
It would have to improve an awful lot to be terrible. It just wasn't interesting.
No.
It just was, hey, here's two guys. Hey, here's what they did. Then they split up and that's it. I'm sure there's a success story in there somewhere. I didn't care. I didn't, it was horrible. My opinion. It was horrible.
It was so bad that I started to fall asleep, but my wife was trying to power through.
Yeah.
And it was late at night. So I knew we were going to bed after this. And so I told her to wake me up before you go.
I would hope she would.
Yeah. Hey, let's do one from No Context Flair. This is a fun question. What were the plans for WrestleMania 9 originally before Flair's health issues leading to dropping the belt to Bret in Canada? Was there any possibility of Flair and Hogan having missed out on 12 months earlier, or had that ship sailed? Man, Bruce, people are just obsessed with the idea that we missed out on Flair and Hogan at WrestleMania. And of course, we know Flair had vertigo. We dropped the belt to Bret in Canada. It winds up on a Superstars tape or a Coliseum home videotape. I think it's Whack 'em, Smack 'em or something like that. And then the whole course changes. Of course, we find out that, hey, Rick, we're going with the youth movement, and he finishes up in January of 93. Rick's not even with the company by WrestleMania 9. But had he been healthy, what do you think Rick would have done at WrestleMania 9?
I don't know. I just come back during that time frame. Warrior had just, come back and everything at WrestleMania the year prior to that. So there was just so many different things going on, from Rick's health issues to business was down. Hogan was gone. Just things weren't clicking. Things weren't working at the time. And I think they were trying to dig themselves out of a slump. And I would dare say that had Rick's health issues not come up, that they probably would have made the change somewhere along the line. Maybe not as soon as we did, because we're kind of forced to. But I think that probably would have happened before WrestleMania, like maybe a Royal Rumble or something like that, because I don't think that Vince had a lot of confidence that the Ric Flair as champion experiment was working. So I don't know. I really don't know. Maybe he would have dropped it to Warrior. Warrior would have been the savior, but then, Warrior was gone and Thanksgiving at Survivor Series, and there was just there was a lot of turmoil, put it that way. So there were no plans. So for example, there definitely wasn't, Yoko was just, getting his debut and getting his first, Yokel wasn't even a thing
Yeah.
until after Survivor Series and the way that he just took off and the reactions of the audience. So that was a time that there were not really solid, man, we're going to do this at WrestleMania.
Yeah. Of course, I know once upon a time you used to always have solid plans for Hulk Hogan. Dan Barillo wants to know, why did Vince feel he needed to pair Hogan up in tag matches for so many SummerSlams? That's interesting, I suppose. I mean, you take a look at that first SummerSlam and, you know, it's Hogan and Savage. And then the second one, it's Hogan and Beefcake. And later we would see Hogan and Warrior. There were a lot of tag. Are we trying to quote unquote give these guys the Hogan rub?
No, I think it's more than anything. When you looked at the business model at that time, you didn't have a pay-per-view every month. So you had, you know, for a while, it was just WrestleMania, Survivor Series, then it became WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Survivor Series, then we added Rumble. And that attraction of SummerSlam was so that you were able to kind of elongate your WrestleMania story to SummerSlam by introducing new characters to it and getting, you know, the same story with a different match. So while you had your Hogan Andre, which was from WrestleMania 4 in the tournament and everything, so now you've still got that issue, man. You've still got Andre, you've got DiBiase, who was hot, and knowing where you want to go the next year with Hulk and Randy, it's like, all right, well, let's make them a team. And again, you're telling the same stories in a different way. Same thing with the match, the movie with Zeus.
Yeah.
Well, you got to hide Zeus. Can't put him in a one-on-one with Hulk. You needed to hide that. So the only way to do that is in a tag team match and have Randy go in and do all the work, and you still get your Hulk Zeus story.
Yes.
You elevate Beefcake, and, you know, Randy was Randy.
Another question about WrestleMania here. This one from Ryback's Only Fan. He says, who is the Undertaker going to wrestle at WrestleMania 10 and WrestleMania 16 before getting injured? WrestleMania 10 is interesting because it was such a monumental WrestleMania for the company. I mean, it felt special. We're back where it all began, Madison Square Garden. And the Undertaker on the shelf, if he was there and able and ready, what would that look like?
I don't know, because I think he'd been out for a while. So there weren't, I don't remember having any plans for the Undertaker at that time. So I don't even think that that we got to that point of, okay, we got to the Undertaker story because of the injuries.
WrestleMania 16 is often referred to as WrestleMania 2000. That's the one with the McMahon in every corner. So it's Hunter, Rock, Big Show, and Foley. If Undertaker's healthy, do you think he winds up being in that match, or maybe there was something else?
Well, again, I think that injuries are a funny thing, and it's, as I've stated before, when you get sidetracked on the way to a story and on your way to a payoff, and someone gets injured or something happens to make that attraction go away. In my head, a lot of times I will focus on, I'll forget about that. It's like, because you have to get out of your head what we were going to do. Because if you get hung up on trying to fix it and make it fit the pieces, make those pieces fit into a puzzle that is a completely different story, it doesn't work. So you have to really get that out of your head. And it's not easy. But when you do, and if you have something else that works out, better, you just move on. So a lot of times I forget, did we have plans? Did we not have plans? Don't really know. don't remember, because it was a situation where your plans change. So now you focus on this and you tell this story and you get involved in that and you dedicate yourself to the story that you're actually going to be able to play out. So
Wes Gay has a great question. What's the hardest you've ever laughed watching a segment? Do you remember one where you got so tickled, even just thinking about it now makes you chuckle?
Wow. I think probably, and it wasn't on air, but it was trying to break Undertaker. When we had basically everybody in the locker room go out to try to break Undertaker.
Was this Vince's birthday celebration trying to get him to do a spin-a-rooney?
Might have been, yeah.
Yeah.
And he just, and I'm dying. But then the other one was with Layfield, because Undertaker had purchased a RV, big RV for the family. And he's going to go on vacation, man. First time he's going to go on vacation like this. You know, he's got an RV. He's going to travel the country, man. He's going to drive to Florida. They're going to set up and have this, you know, great vacation and what have you, and this beautiful brand new RV he's got. And he loads up the family, loads up the dogs and everything. Starts driving from, where the hell was he? Austin or San Antonio, something like that. And he gets to Houston, which is roughly 3 hours into the trip. And the thing starts smoking and stalls out on him. And I mean, the baby's crying, the dog's got to go out. I mean, everything that could possibly go wrong went wrong within the first 3 hours of the trip. Then he gets the thing going. Then he doesn't have air conditioning.
Oh,
and it's in the middle of the summer.
In Texas.
Yeah. On your way to Florida.
Yeah.
And he's going, and obviously I didn't know. I'm calling to, you know, wish him a happy Thanksgiving, a happy vacation, and say, hey, where are you on your trip? Fuck you. I'm like, well, that was rude.
Yeah.
And he's telling me the story, and I'm laughing my ass off. So now we go to TV, his next TV back, and he was working with Bradshaw. And so I feed all this to Bradshaw.
Oh, goodness.
And I said, hey, when you get out there, I said, basically tell him that what you need is a vacation. If I were you, what I'd do is I'd get all your little Taker family together. That's the Taker dogs, the Taker cats, Taker rabbits, all of them together. Get all them little Takers, get them, and get you an RV. And you get that RV and you drive from Takerland all the way to Florida. And and he just goes on and on and on. And I'm thinking that it's going to break Mark. And he is steaming. Steaming. And we had a handheld camera in there that, you know, just, you know, feed to us. And he turns to the camera, and obviously none of this was on TV or anything. He turns to the camera and says, fuck you, Bruce.
Oh, wow.
Only to me, you know, and it was only going to me at Gorilla and all this. But yeah, I got him. And I laughed. Oh my God. And not everybody knew the story.
Right.
So they're all sitting there going, God damn, it's not that funny. I mean, it's funny, but not that funny.
Right.
And I am on the floor laughing because I know how pissed Mark is.
Sure.
So yeah, that was a good one.
Man, what a great story. John Hayes wants to know, if Bobby Heenan had been in the WWE in his prime in the Attitude Era, who from that era might have made up the Heenan family? You don't have to name the whole family, but are there a couple of talents that you think, man, him with Bobby, that could have worked?
Wow. I mean, pretty much any of them.
Yeah.
You know, you look at it, and in any of them. I could have seen him with Triple H. I could have seen him with Mick Foley as Mankind. Yeah, I mean, Heenan, you could plug into pretty much anything and he can make it work. He managed Bundy. Stealing money every time you cash a check. Anyway.
Mr. Breeze has a question. He says, I was at a Raw taping here in OKC in 2002 when the opening pyro killed the power to the Titantron. Who would have been freaking out more for that? Bruce, Vince, or Kevin Dunn?
That would be a tie, probably. Yeah, that's a everybody screaming at everybody point.
Yeah.
You know, and it's yeah, and God, you know, when the pyro hits, and in the old days when we had the stage, man, and it's just like grates, okay, and so the pyro and the fire and all that stuff can come up through the grates. So all that stuff sat underneath Gorilla. So when it went off, those big concussion, boom, all that shit went off under my ass. And people wonder why I'm hard of hearing.
Right.
Because 30 years, whatever it's been, I've had concussions blown up under my ass.
Yeah.
It goes in my ear. And then I can't hear. And then I say, huh?
So it goes in your ass and it comes out your ear?
What?
Right.
Okay.
Joshua Drown wants to know, would you have rather worked for Ole Anderson or Jim Barnett back in the day?
Oh, Barnett. No
Ole
question.
I
don't know Ole. I've never met Ole. And man, I don't know him. I just heard horrible stories about him. I think that Barnett was a lot more open to trying things, and he saw more of the entertainment. Barnett was all about making money.
Right.
Barnett was a promoter. Ole was a wrestler who became a booker from a power position. Not because he was a great booker. And Ole always had people around him. I'm not saying he was a bad booker. Just don't know that he was necessarily a great booker. He was very based in wrestling. Barnett, shit, man. Barnett saw something in Tommy Rich. Tommy Rich drew money. So while Tommy, if you were to put, Tommy up against your picturesque, you're going to draw a wrestler, who would you draw? You wouldn't draw Tommy Rich.
Right.
But Barnett saw something in Tommy, and Tommy, proved it. Tommy went out and drew money. He was able to talk people into the arenas, and he had fire, and they believed in him because he kind of looked like one of them. But Tommy Rich was believable, and I think all things being equal, that Ole would not have given Tommy that kind of push without Barnett, going, no, he's the guy that's going to draw, and let's build around him.
I hope I'm saying this name right. Amadeo says, was the WWF versus WBF tug of war a shoot? We've never really spent much time talking about the WBF. Do you remember the tug of war? What did you think of that?
Was I there?
I think you.
I don't. I don't. It probably was a shoot.
I couldn't imagine the guys being like, "Oh yeah, we want to do this."
Yeah, we're not going to. I can't imagine them going, "Oh yeah, we'll put them over."
Yeah, no way, no chance, right?
Like even I forget where the fuck it was. We were doing something for a charity somewhere, and it was a tug of war, and the boys just went in and destroyed him. And I'm like, "What are you doing? We're winning." It's a charity, man. Put them over. It's like kids, like ha ha ha, pull them into the mud, type shit. Billy Gunn Oh my God. We were on the cruise and fans are there. So it was like the fans versus the superstars volleyball, right?
Yep.
Man, Billy and Ken Shamrock and those guys, they're like just destroying people. Like Billy's jumping up and spiking the fucking volleyball. Like, yeah. And I'm going, dude, they paid for this. Yeah, but we got to win. Like, yeah, but you don't have to spike the ball in their faces, man. And I said, put them over.
I love you for that.
Give them, shit. They're fans. Let them have a moment. Hey, I beat the wrestlers in a volleyball. This isn't a real volleyball competition here, folks.
Yeah.
Put them over. So if anybody was on that cruise and you got your ass beat, I'm sorry. That was a shoot.
Richie
I
the
was looking at. My God, I'd have put you over.
fans would have went over.
Yeah.
Richie the Madman wants to know, can I get a good Raven story?
I don't have any Raven stories.
Really?
Yeah.
Even Johnny Flamingo, nothing.
I got a picture of him up on my wall when we all were a unit for one night in Global.
The rumor and innuendo is that he used to keep Shane McMahon out late partying, and maybe Vince wasn't too happy about that, and allegedly he never forgave it.
Man, I don't think I kept Shane out late at night. I just don't buy that. I just don't think that's true.
You don't think Vince had a hard on for Raven?
No.
Because there's another story out there where I guess he's in a booking meeting or something, and he looks over his glasses and he says, "Who the fuck hired Raven?" Is that true?
Was Raven there?
Yeah, I guess Raven had come back. This is, well after ECW and WCW and all that sort of stuff.
Oh God, I have no idea. I mean, yeah, please. I have no idea. I could see it, but I don't think he knew. I don't think so for example, I don't think that he knew who Raven was. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that he ever put Scott Levy and Raven together.
I got you.
He knew who Johnny Polo was.
Right.
But I don't think he was a big fan of Raven, no. But I can't remember. I just say, do I have a good story about Raven? No.
Well, it's good to know that Vince didn't have a hard on for him, but if he wanted to, he could start with a Blue Chew. This episode and all of our episodes are sponsored by Blue Chew. Let's talk about sex, boys and girls. Remember the days when you were always ready to go? Well, now you can increase your performance and get that extra confidence in bed. Listen up, we're talking about BlueChew.com. Blue Chew is a unique online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra, but in chewable form and at a fraction of the cost. Take them anytime, day or night. Plan ahead or be ready whenever an opportunity arises, and the process is simple. Sign up at BlueChew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. Here's the best part. It's all done online, so no visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversation, and no waiting in line at the pharmacy. Blue Chew's tablets are made in the USA, prepared and shipped directly to your door, all in a discreet package. And let me just say, this isn't just for guys who have a problem. This is for guys who are looking to put on a show. They're looking to put on a performance. They're looking to leave a lasting impression. And Blue Chew wants to help you have better sex, so discover your options at BlueChew.com. Let's chew it and do it, y'all. We got a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew free when you use our promo code WRESTLE at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. That's BlueChew.com. The promo code WRESTLE will let you receive your first month free. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring today's podcast. Let's do another one here. Tigers at the Aquarium wants to know, what was the reaction in the WWF when Bash at the Beach 2000 went down? Of course, as you may recall, Hulk Hogan walked out of that show. Did it cross your mind here in 2000? Hey, what if we could find a way to get Hulkster back? That could have looked totally different. Hogan in the WWE in 2000.
I can promise you that it wasn't even discussed.
Okay.
Like nobody cared. It was, I think most people saw it as a Russo stunt. And yeah, nobody really gave it a second thought. It just, they were doing so much crazy, stupid shit at that point that it was like, okay, yeah, they did this stupid thing to blur the line, if you will.
Yeah.
I think on every side, and I haven't, I've heard all the sides at different times. I just think it was silly and stupid. I think the premise, the very base premise, was absolutely absurd and stupid. I didn't care for it. So to your point, to the question is, I don't think that anybody believed that, oh my God, this is real. Hulk's available. He walked out. No one believed that. They thought it was just another WCW angle.
Let's talk about instinct here. Skydog wants to know, how do you, Bruce Prichard, know when a talent is over? Merch sales are an indicator, but what else are there as intangibles? How can the talent self-identify it?
Consistency, man. It's a feel. It's so when we'll go talk to new talent a lot of times, and developmental or at a school or what have you, and try to explain to them, man, it's not what you don't ever think about what you're going to do. Feel it. Feel what's right to do next. Don't think about what you should do. Feel it and know what to do. So a lot of times you'll hear things that may or may not be there. And when you, without a doubt, merchandise sales, that's a big indicator. But you have to look at those merchandise sales over time. If you do something hot, or it's a cool piece of merchandise that just came out and it blows off the shelves, and it's like, man, you're going to take notice and go, okay, what's different here? But then you're also listening to the audience reactions. And are they sustained? Also, are they consistent? Is the reactions due, is it genuine, or is it due to something that the talent is trying to do and overcompensate for? It's just a lot of factors, and so much of it is just feel. Yes, there are indicators, man, where if you advertise something and you have somebody on top that hasn't been there before and you see a distinct uptick, then okay, you're going to take notice. Do it again. All right, there's a there's a trend, there's a pattern now that you can look at. Take them off. Does it drop? So there's so many different factors that it's not just, oh, hey, man, so-and-so on Twitter says that I had the best match of the night, so I'm over.
Right.
It doesn't work like that. Especially as I've said to you, one of my favorite things is when people go, my Twitter's blowing up.
Yeah.
And you look at it and go, you've got 47
tweets.
views.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're all talking about it. 47.
Yeah.
Out of millions. That ain't blowing up.
No.
1,000 ain't blowing up. Go get 40 million. That's blowing up.
Sure. Bringer of Steam, interesting handle, wants to know, was there one WCW star in particular during the Monday Night Wars that Bruce really wished he had on their side? When you would occasionally check out WCW, did one stand out?
I always liked Sting.
Yeah.
DDP I always liked.
Okay.
So those of the higher echelon, definitely liked. There was in the early days, before before the NWO and all that stuff, man, I was a big fan of Scott Steiner. And it just, but most of those we all, we eventually all got to work with.
Bringer of Steam had another great question. He says, does Bruce think they could have pulled the trigger on an Owen Hart title run at SummerSlam 94? Could Owen have carried the title until WrestleMania 11, or perhaps he been the one to drop the title to Diesel?
I don't know. That's an interesting question, because I think so much of Owen's dynamic at that stage. Now, fast forward a year or two, I would say yes. However, at that stage in Owen's career, we were still in the testing the waters, and the issue was Brett. It was all about the issue with Brett and the whole brother dynamic. So I don't know, but a year later, I would definitely think that Owen could have been a champion.
Kevin Lambert wants to know, can you think of a time where you saw Vince pop or break unexpectedly, like so much that it shocked you? Do you remember one time that just got all over Vince, that just tickled him?
God, yes, hundreds of times, but now you say, okay, well, what is that, Bruce? And I can't come up with one single example. I think that, I do have an example. I think one of the funniest one was when Dino Bravo was doing the bench press challenge in Hamilton, Ontario, for the USA Network for the Royal Rumble episode. And he was telling everybody about how he could bench press 700 pounds, and he was doing reps with 500 pounds in the gym. And we get it out there. There was probably a legit 350 on the bar, maybe a little bit more. And Dino couldn't get it up.
Oh.
And Vince laughed his ass off. You had to.
Yeah.
You had to. Jesse being the heel, oh, yeah, he got it up, but he didn't. And Vince called him and laughed his ass off. It was hilarious.
Deuce Prichard wants to know, what's the most you've ever spent at a strip club, and what's the most you've ever seen spent at a bar? There's got to be a record number for both of those, right?
No. But that I've spent,
probably at Heartbreakers.
Well, yeah, probably at Heartbreakers. But man, those nights, a lot of it was comped. So under $1,000, man. Sorry.
Okay. Biggest bar bill, is that Flair? Is that Cena? Is that Vince?
I mean, yeah, I've seen a lot of $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 bar bills. Yeah.
You saw a $50,000 bar bill?
Yeah.
That's impressive. Do you remember where?
Big club, but it was one of those where we kind of came in and.
Oh, maybe like Vegas, and you did bottle service and tables and all that.
Yeah, but it was also like a big group, and we kind of took over, and was what it was.
My goodness.
A lot of times I had to pay for those, so it was like, here, go pay for this,
and to get reimbursed. Hey Vince, here's a $50,000.
Well, or either that, or I'd use his credit card.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
that's he had a black card before black cards were black cards.
Yeah, I don't even know if he has one.
J.M. Wagner says, in the Netflix doc on the Danbury Thrashers and AJ Galante, we see in 97 The Rock, Triple H, Chyna, and Billy Gunn at AJ's birthday as a kid. How did that come about? Did his dad contact and pay WWE directly back then? What was the process?
Yeah, it was a personal appearance. It was just, he inquired with the folks that do personal appearances, and how much does it cost for so-and-so to appear somewhere? And he made an offer, and it was a lucrative offer. And they made a personal appearance at a birthday party.
AJ Inger wants to know, what's the one gimmick Bruce created and was sure would get over, but just didn't?
Bastion Booger? No. Ouch. Well, I didn't create it, but I really thought the Hakushi gimmick would have gotten over a lot better than it did.
Yeah, I can see
I
that.
just thought that was so cool, and I think that I just love the concept. I thought it was cool. I thought the intrigue of that and the mystery of that would have gotten over a whole hell of a lot better than it did.
Ross Parks says, you spent a lot of time with Jim Cornette. I myself am a huge fan of Corny. What's your favorite or most memorable Cornette story you witnessed, or his most epic rant, if there is a difference?
Well, I think we covered that in the archives in our Jim Cornette episode. I mean, a lot of them. It's Corny's just a very entertaining human being on camera and off. So it's all there for the taking.
What's a little thing that set him off? I mean, we've talked about how you guys destroyed his car and he flipped out and destroyed his own rental car. We told the
First of all, we didn't destroy his car. That was an accident.
Yes. Well, then there was the George the Rat story, an iconic story.
I think one time he went to the post office in Stamford, and his significant other at the time had a handicap, like one of those things you hang on your rearview mirror.
Yep.
And Corny, there was no parking, so Corny parked in the handicap spot and got out and ran into the post office. And some woman made the comment to him that you're not handicapped. He says, "That's a goddamn handicap sticker to the fucking person. The issue is the goddamn vehicle, you fucking bitch." Something like that. But whatever it was, I was like, just looking at him going, but you're not handicapped, Corny. It was, she wasn't going in. She wasn't there. And he was like, "The only place else to park." So, just little shit like that. It's funny. I think the hard roll.
Oh yeah.
When went to get sandwiches and my wife asked me about that on a hard roll. I don't understand the goddamn fascination up here with hard bread. Fucking hurts your teeth. I like soft bread. I want a soft roll. You bite into it, it's squishy and it's soft. I think hard roll, it hurts my teeth when I bite into it. Like, hard rolls are soft.
On the inside.
No, they're soft on the outside too.
Okay. You got to get hot.
It's just a name.
Okay. Why don't they just call them, fucking rolls? Why do they got to be hard rolls?
Yankee thing. Why the fuck do they call a po' boy a grinder?
I don't know.
So why do they call a sub a wedge? Because they're fucking Yankees. I don't know. I went into this place when I moved up here, and I would see this shit on menus all the time. Wedge, grinder. No idea what it is. So I go and I have lunch at this place, and I'm the only person in there. And I asked the guy, I said, "Hey man, can I ask you a question?" I said, what exactly is a grinder? And he could tell by the way that I spoke that I wasn't from around these parts.
Right.
And where are you from? I said, "Texas." He goes, "Texas, okay." I'm sorry, I beg your pardon. First, he said, when I asked what a grinder was, he goes, like a wedge. Okay. What's a wedge? Well, where are you from? I said, "Texas." I said, "Okay, let me think. Like a dagwood. Like a dagwood. Like a submarine sandwich. What the fuck you guys call that there? The poor boys." And then it clicked. I said, "You mean po' boy, bitch?" But yeah, it's because they fucking name shit weird up here. I don't know. It's a hard roll. I know what it is. Soft. It's a roll. Very good. You get a ham, egg, and cheese double leg on a hard roll. Mwah.
Charlie McClanahan wants to know, what's the most scared you've been on a trip between towns?
A lot of times, but coming back from Boston one time, and we were in a horrible storm. Vince was driving, and I mean, it is raining so hard that you can't see.
Right.
You cannot see. Windshield wipers going a mile a minute, but it is so hard that it is just like water 8 inches thick flowing over the windshield. Can't see a thing. And I look over at the speedometer, and it's like right at 100. And there's a bridge on the Merritt Parkway that it's like one of those graded bridges. So when you get on it, like it grabs hold of your tires and kind of like shifts you into the grate. It's scary in good weather with no one around you. But when it's late at night and there's 8,000 inches of rain being poured upon your car at that time, and a maniac is driving 100 miles an hour, and he's just driving along, and I look at him. I said, "Hey, just so I know, I mean, can you see through the thing?" And he's just driving along, and he just looks at me and goes, while we're going over this fucking bridge. And he's looking at me. So no, he couldn't see out the front. And then just pushed on the gas even further. I thought, I'm going to die tonight. It's okay. But he looked like in that moment. You ever see
Planes, Trains, and Automobiles?
Yes, he looked like John Candy in that moment with the fucking devil horns and all that shit.
I knew exactly.
He keeps covered because of the hair.
Horror Movie Barbecue says, does Bruce have any memories of working with Nickelodeon when Hacksaw, Perfect, Gorilla, and Bobby Heenan appeared on the show Double Dare? And in turn, was Mark Summers ever asked to do anything on screen with the WWF?
Usually on a yearly basis, I would reach out to Mark Summers. I wanted Mark Summers to come in and be an interview guy like Mean Gene for us. Thought Mark Summers was absolutely one of the most talented guys, and he still is, man. He's done wonders on the Food Channel, and he's a great producer. But I thought he was even better as a talent, especially in his Double Dare days. Thought his personality would fit our business great. And you got Bobby and them on there. It was, I didn't really have anything to do with it, but I did on pretty much a yearly basis for several years talk to Mark and or his agent about, is he finishing up with this Nickelodeon thing? Maybe he wants to come and do some stuff with us. But he had a great gig there, and he was able to parlay that into a producer position, and just a great guy. I mean, super guy and great talent, but I would have hired Mark in a heartbeat.
Starrcast returns to the Chicago area this Labor Day weekend. Tickets for Starrcast VI are now on sale at Starrcast.com and include AEW All-Out Ticket Bundle options. Join us at the Hyatt Regency Schaumburg starting Friday night, September 1st, for unique fan experiences with wrestling legends from yesterday and superstars from today. Follow Starrcast events on Twitter for the latest updates about all things Starrcast. Starrcast VI is brought to you in part by ProWrestlingCrate.com. Monthly mystery crates for die-hard wrestling fans. Plans start at $9.95 and are the perfect gift for any wrestling fan. Visit ProWrestlingCrate.com today.
Effin Davidson wants to know, where does Jimmy Hart fall in the conversation of all-time great managers? He's absolutely one of the best in my eyes, but it seems like I rarely hear him mentioned when the topic is brought up.
Top 5.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that. I appreciate that. This is a fun one for you. I know you've probably got a good story too. Richie Ray wants to know, who was the security guard that always wore the black golf hat? He was always with the wrestlers in the crowd. Attitude Era. You know who he's talking about. He passed away.
Golf hat.
Jim Dotson. Come on.
Oh, he wore the Kangol hat.
That's what he meant.
Oh, well, then say it.
That's what he wrote. What do you mean?
You don't wear a Kangol hat to golf.
You know who he meant. Come on.
Actually, I didn't, because some of our guys did wear ball caps. I mean, a lot of them did during the Jimmy era, where all of our security guys were named Jimmy. You had tall Jimmy, short Jimmy, fat Jimmy, jacked up Jimmy.
Jim Dotson no longer with us, but man, he was in a lot of those photos. If you got the magazines in the Attitude Era, you know exactly who we're talking about.
Yeah, Jim was a guy from Nashville, Tennessee. He was a friend of Taker's, and he did work for rock and roll bands, did security for them, and came on with us to do security for us backstage and around the ring, and he was a security guy. Good thing about Jim, though, was he would always make sure that we had police escorts out of the building at the end of the night.
That's cool.
Especially me and Jerry Briscoe.
So you could get back and
get wherever it is we needed to go and do whatever it was we needed to do.
There you go. Anthony wants to pay tribute to somebody I know that you were fond of. Any fun stories with the late, great Darren Drosdov?
Man, I love Droz. Hired Droz, man. At his celebration of life. Darren, we lost Darren here recently, and I went to his celebration of life, and I think I told you it was one of the man, you think of those, as funerals, and you think of these as like really sad events. Walking into that, I never was in a place where there was just so much love and so much camaraderie. You didn't have to know anybody in there, but yet you had draws in common, and so everybody knew everybody.
Right.
Type of thing. The chief legal counsel for the Chicago Bears was Darren's kind of mentor and agent at the time, and he's the one that had originally called me about Darren, and we brought Darren in to start training. He was one of our first developmental guys that trained with Mark Henry and what have you. So Droz comes in, and what was unique about Droz was the fact that he was famous. He was a nose tackle, and he was famous for puking on the football. Like they all line up, and he puked all over the center and all over the football, like before the snap and shit. And so one of the things that he was saying is, hey, I can puke on command. Basically, I can puke anytime, just tell me to puke, I'll puke, which that's intriguing for us. Hey, this guy can puke whenever you. Hey, why don't you puke for me? He puke. So there's that scene in that Barry Blaustein movie where, it's Vince and Shane, and they're doing the thing with Droz, and we're gonna call you Puke, and I just need you to do one thing for me. It's puke. He takes the trash can out, and he's gonna puke. He's gonna puke. Oh my God. And Darren couldn't puke. And they do the thing and all the shit and get what they get and all the shit. And Darren comes out. no shit. Like walks out and goes, God damn, man, I can't believe I couldn't puke. And puked. But he was a little camera shy that day.
Wow.
But he puked afterwards. He could, if you give him enough water and, give him a burrito, puke that shit right up.
Wow. That's a hell of a talent.
All right, there. Come on. Come puke.
My goodness. We'll do two more and we'll put a bow on it. Adam
Do you
Lisa
not have
wants
friends
to-
that you can just call on to puke on command?
Nope. I think Silva can shit on the floor on command. He has before.
Dude, I've heard that. I mean, and that's just like a thing for him.
He's still kind of low-key hot about that. Of all the things to be mad about.
So wait a minute. He's hot because he took a shit on your floor in your bathroom in your home and left it.
Yes. And he's mad at me.
And he's mad at you because you said, hey, Dave, can I ask you a question, man? Because there were people here before you. And then we got home and there was somebody else here. And there's shit on the floor of the bathroom where there's a perfectly good toilet with a bidet that you could have poo-pooed in and then washed your butthole out.
Yep.
but yet you choose just put them on the floor and leave it.
That's right. You got it.
Puking's a little different, man, because like usually at least Darren would grab a waste paper basket.
Adam Leeson wants to know, who was the most difficult person to tell they were losing a match? Do you remember having a big negotiation all the time with one particular talent?
No. You know, again, man, you get in this business, you know what the business is.
Right.
This is winning and losing. I don't know. You know, Brett would question it at times. And again, I'd never minded anybody questioning it as to why. And you would explain to him why. Okay, I mean, that's the business. That's what we do. We win, we lose. Kurt Angle came in. Kurt had his little gold medal, and took offense that I referred to it as his little gold medal. But, you know, Kurt was like, well, I can't lose. I said, well, good luck with your little gold medal there. And then he figured out he could lose. But yeah, I know, you know, when Bob Backlund was told he was going to be losing, he was upset and felt his wife was going to cry. But he did it, you know.
Luchadorian says,
hang on, wait. I'll go back. I'll give you another example though of somebody that you had to talk into going over. Was Gino Hernandez. When Gino Hernandez was a hot heel, and it came time where Paul wanted Gino to go over on Jose Lothario in this one match to come back to build up this return. Gino was like, they don't pay to see me win. And he was like, but they got to know that you can. And, you know, he got it, but he was adamant that, you know, man, my role as a heel, my role here is to get my ass kicked. And they pay to see me get beat. So you would have to talk him into going over.
Luchadorian says, not a Russo fan, but I remember an episode years ago where Bruce said Russo should not have been paid more when they added SmackDown in 1999. I always wanted to hear his justification why. Seems like when you literally double someone's workload, a raise is reasonable.
Well, I don't think that they were doubling his workload. I think they were splitting his workload. Same amount of time. You're doing the same thing for the same amount of time. If you weren't working on SmackDown, you would work that same amount of time on Raw. So now it's just, okay, well, I'm going to devote some of this time allotment that I have to SmackDown, and you're not going to have as much time as you used to have for Raw. That's all.
Well, I'm sure that'll get them talking. Next week, we'll be talking about SummerSlam 2008. This will be the first pay-per-view of the new PG era. It'll be Edge versus Undertaker in a Hell in a Cell, plus Khali versus Triple H. Yeah, that happened. John Cena versus Batista, JBL versus Punk, and the now infamous Jericho, Shawn Michaels, and Rebecca segment. That's what we're doing next week here on the program. But I'll tell you what, Bruce, I had so much fun with our Q&A today, or as you call it, ask me questions and shit. We want to do this again. So ask us another question, please, on Twitter. It's easy. It's at Prichard Show. You can also ask questions on Instagram or over on Facebook. Something to Wrestle over on Facebook. It's one thing to hear the show, by the way. It's another to see it. Check it out. Hit the like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications over at somethingtowrestle.com. Lots of new swag available as well over at somethingtowrestleshirts.com, including Brother Love's Endless Love Line t-shirt, Feeling Brucey, Wiz Awful His House, Ribbum, and so many more. Something for everybody. By the way, if your business targets men that are 25 to 54 years old, buddy, we got them. No better place to advertise than right here with us on Something to Wrestle. You hear some of the same commercials year after year after year. Why is that? Well, because it really works. With our super targeted audience, there's very little waste. Go right now to advertisewithbruce.com to find out more about advertising here on Something to Wrestle With. I also want to mention that you get these shows early and ad-free over at adfreeshows.com. And man, there's more bonus content than you can shake a stick at. We've got a brand new series called Tuesdays with the Taskmaster. You can't find that anywhere else. Monday mailbags with both Nick Patrick and Mike Kiota, the third guy in the ring in the WWF and WCW. Of course, there's also the book with David Crockett. We go episodically through his brother's booking sheets from way back in 1985. We've also got the Insiders, where I recently sat down with Dan Bynum, who talked about all of his innovation in the production of world-class championship wrestling. We recently sat down for a false finish to catch up with Zach Gowen and so much more. You get live Q&As, bonus content from all of our podcasts, and so much more. It's all over at adfreeshows.com. Bruce, I never know what to expect when we sit down, man, but I had a blast talking to you today, and I think you got to keep drinking Prime before we click record. I need to thank Logan Paul for creating such a wonderful beverage for you.
You're welcome.
Absolutely. We'll see you next week right here on Something to Wrestle with Bruce Prichard.
Rock on.
Hey guys, need to call a quick time out here. Wanted to tell your listeners what I've been telling my listeners over at OU didn't know for a while now about all the cool things happening over at adsfreeshows.com.
Conrad sits down with a pioneer of wrestling television production, director Dan Bynum, who discusses his journey through WCW, ROH, MLW, and where it all began for him, world class.
What really was the thing that catapulted it was, one, working with Ric Flair. He came to the territory and wrestled with the Von Erich boys and gave us so much gravitas. And two, the greatest feud in the history of wrestling, the Freebird Von Erich feud. Mm-hmm. So we were there at the hottest time with the hottest show, and we took over the world.
The Yeti, Ron Reese, sits down with Ad-Free Shows members to talk about his infamous night at Halloween Havoc and how it was received by the boys in the back.
Oh no, I remember like Arn Anderson told me that was the drizzling shits, and Dusty Rhodes was like, that was the worst thing I've ever seen. And I'm just like, hey, thanks.
That's just a small taste of what we got waiting for you. With 4 levels to choose from, see for yourself why Ads-Free Shows is the best value in wrestling today. Sign up now at adsfreeshows.com.